You can use regular straight pins to pin these pieces together if you like. I like to use these alligator clips, like this. These you can find in most electrical supply stores, like radio shops, computer stores. If you can't find them, because I did have a hard time finding them, you can get them on eBay, and there is a link on the site, on the suppliers and tools page. There is a link to these alligator clamps on eBay. The first part will be to pick your thread. For hand sewing, I personally like to use Coats upholstery thread. It doesn't come in a huge range of colors, but I'm usually able to find something to come close to the backing. You want to match your thread to the backing. Now this is a white upholstery thread, and this is kind of a cream color, and it blends in fairly well. You won't really see the stitching when you're sewing with this after it's turned inside out. If any stitches should show, they won't be seen. However, I am going to use, for this purposes of this demonstration, I'm going to use this taupe colored upholstery thread. That way you can see what I'm doing. You'll see the thread on the fabric, and it'll be easier to follow along. Now, when I am hand sewing, I like to use a double length of thread. That gives it more strength. When I'm machine sewing, I will sew everything twice, again to give it strength. For my hand sewing here, I'll take a length of thread about almost 3 feet long, and then double it, so then it's about 18 inches long when I'm actually using it. This way it's not too long, so I don't want it to get tangled. If it's too long, it gets tangled. If it's too short, then I'm constantly trying to get a new thread started. Now to start a seam, although I want this sewing to start from here and go all the way down, I'm going to start it right about here to give a little extra strength at the beginning of the sewing. I'm going to come up. As you see, I came up from the back up here. This is about 1/8 of an inch seam allowance, and then I take about 1/8 of an inch and I go back down like this. What I'm showing you is going to be called a backstitch, and you'll see why it's called a backstitch in a moment. You want to pull it tight, but not so tight that it puckers. And now you're going to bring your needle up, so about 1/8 of an inch over to the right of here. And then you're going to go back, hence the name backstitch, into that hole that you came up with before. Come up and down. And now we're finally at the edge here. I'm going to come up real close and go down. And now we're going to go the other way. So now I'm going to come up through here and go. Now I'm taking my stitch and going back this way, back through that hole. Whether you use pins or clamps, they always get, thread always gets caught on it. There we go. Now I'm going to finish this length of thread. It probably won't be enough to finish this piece, but I'm going to show you how I end this thread and how I start the next piece. Okay, so I'm coming near the end of my thread. I've come up through here. I've got 4 or 5 inches of thread left. It's not enough to finish the rest of this stitch and still be able to secure the thread off very well. So we're going to go backwards a little bit now to secure the thread. Take a couple of back stitches the other way, back the way we came. Come back up, and now we're going to tie a knot. I'm going to take the thread, the needle in here, just take a little stay stitch like, in and out real quick. And then don't pull it tight yet because there's that loop. I'm going to bring the needle through twice. That'll help make the knot. Pull it tight. That's done the knot, and then take your needle and sink it down once. Come up once. And that thread is secure. So that is how you finish the end of a thread. Next thing we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to start your next piece of thread so that you can finish the rest of this piece. Now we have a new length of thread, doubled of course, on our needle. It's not quite as long as the first one because I don't have as much to sew together. I want to make sure that I don't have a weak spot between where the two pieces of thread where they join. So instead of just starting right here at the end of that thread, I'm going to come 2 stitches over, bring my needle up. I'm going to go backwards a couple. And now I'm going to start going forwards. And we'll finish off the rest of this. There we go. Now you're coming near the end of this seam. So I'll show you how we'll finish this off. Okay. Depending on how tightly woven your fabric is will depend on how close you can get to the end of that seam there. This is Schulte mohair, so it's woven pretty tightly. I can get pretty close to the end of that. So right now I have gone all the way to the edge, but I'm going to take one more, double it here, and then I'm going to redo that one, and then come back a couple. I'm going to go backwards again. We'll finish it off the same way we finished off the first one. Down, come up, a little stitch, a couple of times through the loop, pull it tight to secure the knot. And this one's all set.